Welcome to episode 3 of Beam Gear. Now, usually on this show, when we want to test the absolute limits of precision, handling, and speed, we bring out a low-slung, lightweight supercar. But today, we are doing things a bit differently. We are testing those exact same track performance metrics using a massive diesel engine and enough raw pulling power to move a mountain. Now, let's talk about the backbone of the economy, global logistics. Every single day, millions of tons of freight are moved across the world by massive, heavy-duty semi-trucks. It is a grueling industry where logistics managers spend millions trying to answer one vital question: which truck is the most efficient at making deliveries? And because this is an informative motoring show, we decided to find out. Except we didn't have any freight, and we haven't actually scheduled any deliveries. Instead, we've brought a selection of the biggest, heaviest commercial rigs we could find here, the ETK Driver Experience Center, to see which one can handle the challenges we are going to throw at them. Because all we know, nothing says efficient supply chain like a 12-ton diesel behemoth trying to control itself while hydroplaning. Now, let's go ahead and meet our contenders. First up, from France, we have the Cherrier Potent. This is a masterpiece straight out of the 1990s, the absolute golden era of European long-haul cab-over design. Because it's from the 90s, it's got a lighter chassis compared to the modern rigs, so it also has absolutely zero electronic safety nets. Next, hauling from Sweden is the Segra Ultimat. Now, Segra is Swedish for to conquer, and this brand was founded by a group of visionary engineers obsessed with cutting-edge tech, advanced aerodynamics, and saving the planet. But out here on our test track, where corners actually exist, we aren't looking to save the planet. We're looking to see if all that high-tech Swedish wizardry stops this 12-ton rolling fortress from plowing into the tire barriers like a runaway glacier. And finally, representing Germany, the Mercedes-Benz Actros MP3. Now, this is the modern benchmark of long-distance hauling. It's the most precise and clinical example of German engineering. Underneath that massive cab sits a colossal 12.8-liter diesel engine pushing out around 400 horsepower. It is high-tech, utterly dominant, and completely humorless. 3 massive trucks, 3 European superpowers, and absolutely zero cargo. Let's see what happens when we unleash them on the track. For our first of 4 challenges, we have the skid pad, but because this is Beam Gear, it isn't a normal circle. It's shaped like a giant letter J. The rules are simple. All 3 trucks will approach at the exact same speed, throw themselves into the bend, and we will see which one can handle the cornering forces without crashing into the scenery. Starting us off is the Cherrier Potent. Rolling down the hill now, slamming on the brakes. It has completely missed the skid pad, not able to stay on. It has only regained control after all its momentum has been lost. It seems as though the lightweight does not help the Potent. Now, next up we have the Segra Ultimat. Let's see how well that modern technology can handle a little bit of moisture. It seems like it is keeping control. Very impressive. Now coming around the J-hook, it is actually drifting. Have you ever seen anything like that? I almost thought this truck was Japanese. Extra points go to the Ultimat just for style. Now our next contender on the J-hook is the Mercedes Actros. One of my personal favorite trucks so far of the 3. Starting to drift like the Ultimat, but it can't keep it together. Points for this challenge goes to the Segra Ultimat. Now we move on to a straight line skid pad for a bit of hydroplane emergency braking. We're going to accelerate these multi-ton behemoths up to a top speed and then hit a massive sheet of standing water before slamming on the anchors. Now starting us off again is the Potent. And the stopping point is going to be the first line that you see, right there slamming on the brakes. And we're going to see where the Potent comes to a complete stop. That is going to be the marker for the rest of the trucks. Now here comes the very impressive Ultimat. And and slamming on the brakes. And it did successfully stop shorter than the Potent, as you can see by the blue cone. And now it's the Mercedes' turn. That is very embarrassing, Mercedes. Too much power, not enough braking. Now we are doing the same exact test, but this time without the water. 40 miles an hour, dry tarmac, full emergency stop. It sounds simple, but stopping 12 tons of moving commercial steel is like trying to halt a small asteroid. Up first with no safety tech is the Charrier Potent. The brakes are activated right at the cones. Next up is the already impressive Segra Ultimate. Slamming on the brakes, looks like it came to a complete stop a whole truck length before the Potent. Now back to see if it can redeem itself, the Mercedes. That looks very close. Let's take a look at an alternative angle. And as you can see, the Mercedes has not redeemed itself, making the Segra Ultimate the winner of most of these challenges so far. Now, while we can do wet and dry braking and quartering all day with these trucks, there is one more challenge that we have to get to. The High Speed Bowl. It's a massive banked circle of pure asphalt. Each truck will start from a dead stop, and they have exactly 1 lap to unleash every single horse under the cab. It's a flat-out drag race of pure diesel violence. Now, coming into the bowl, our first contender is the Potent. Will the Potent potentially surprise us with a top speed? Let's find out. Now, the beeping sound is actually a warning that it's going a little too fast, almost like it wants to surrender. And across the line. The Charrier was able to go around the bowl in 41 seconds. Let's see how the rest of the trucks stand up to that time. Now, next up, the Segra Ultimate has already impressed me so much today. Let's see how well it does around the speed bowl. One thing I definitely forgot to mention is that this thing has a governor that only lets it go a top speed of 55 miles per hour. With the modern tech and aerodynamics, this thing could definitely put in a good time, but that governor might hurt it. And with a time of 46 seconds, it is actually slower than the Potent. But how will it hold up against the Mercedes? Now to find out, the Mercedes is now pulling up to the line and it's off. The Actra seems to be carrying immense speed already. Driving around this giant left turn donut just like it's from Alabama. And the time is a blistering 35 seconds for the Mercedes. Right, now we have definitely proven that commercial rigs definitely are not pretending to be nimble sports cars. But between the three of them, there are key differences that make them a huge factor when it comes to driving in different elements, different scenarios, different places. Welcome back to the studio. Now, later in the show, we are packing up these massive rigs and we're going to be heading to a proper historic racing circuit to put them through the ultimate hot lap test. That ought to be quite interesting, so be sure to stick around for that. But now, we must take a break from the commercial transport industry and look at something a bit more fun. In last week's show, we looked at the Bruckle 9 and the new Bruckle Ravix, and as we discovered, that was very much a story of a great-grandfather and a newborn baby. One was a relic from a different era, and the other was a modern, tech-heavy, electronic marvel. But today, we're looking at a relationship that is far more complicated. We're looking at a father and a son. And the story begins in 1984 with the father. This is the Ibishu 300BX 50th Anniversary Edition. Now, back in 1984, if you were a rising corporate executive who wanted the world to know that you spent your lunches making high-stakes business deals, this is what you bought. It was built for an era of absolute excess. Under that long, sloping hood sits a 3-liter V6 engine equipped with a turbocharger, sending 200 brake horsepower to the rear wheels via a proper 5-speed manual gearbox. 0 to 60 took 7.2 seconds, and it would keep pulling until it hit a top speed of 141 miles an hour, which meant you could get to your morning board meeting very quickly indeed. But this car wasn't just about speed, it was about 80s theater. Up front, you got a genuinely cool hood scoop to keep that turbo from melting. Inside, you were treated with a gloriously retro digital display dashboard that looked like a fighter jet cockpit. And then there are the headlights. It hurried down the road brilliantly, but it was heavy. It was a bit soft. It was a luxury grand tour in a world that was rapidly moving on. By the end of the decade, people didn't want a heavy luxury cruiser anymore. Enthusiasts wanted something simpler, lighter, and more pure. This is the 240 BX LXZ SR Technica. Now on paper, this looked like a massive step backward. The heavy premium turbo V6 was gone, replaced by a smaller 2.4-liter inline 4-cylinder engine. But don't be fooled by the cylinder count. This isn't an ordinary commuter motor. This is a high-revving, high-lift version of the SR Tech engine, pushing out 219 brake horsepower, 19 more than its father's V6. And because this is the legendary track-focused Technica version, Ibishu didn't just want to stop at the engine. They gave it a full aggressive Technica aerodynamic body kit, a completely overhauled racing suspension system, high-performance brake pads, and a gorgeous set of unique alloy rims. Where the old 300BX was a comfortable sledgehammer, the 240 is a surgical scalpel. It is stripped back, raw, and completely uncomplicated. Because the chassis is light and features a perfect 50 to 50 weight distribution, 0 to 60 drops to a blistering 5.8 seconds, with a top speed of 149.6 miles an hour. It sent its power strictly to the rear wheels with 0 electronic driver aids, and went on to become an absolute god in the drifting community. It proved that sometimes giving up a little luxury is the only way to find your soul. It is a brilliant machine, but it does leave us with a question. How will the 240 perform on our test track? To find out, we have to hand the keys over to our tame racing driver. Some say that he can hear a misfire in a car engine from 4 miles away just by chewing on a spark plug, and that his favorite childhood bedtime story was the instruction manual for a 1982 commercial tractor. All we know is he's called the Gits. And he is off. Just listen to that 4-cylinder working overtime. Looks like it's handling very well through Wilson. Throwing it right now into Chicago, keeping it nice and tight around that corner. Coming down now to the hammerhead. But it is handling all right. This has to be one of the best sounding 4-cylinders I've ever heard. Flying through Bentley. Now coming down to the last 2 corners. One more corner now, and across the line. Now, taking a look at our lap board, of course the Ravix is at the top, and the Civetta Bolide is in second place, but now we have to add the 240BX. And it did it in 1 minute, 31.75 seconds, so that's going to put it at the bottom of our list in third place. Now let's get back on schedule with our logistics challenge. Now, while we've conducted some gentle testing, we still need to know which one can set the absolute fastest lap time. And to do that properly, a test facility just won't cut it. Welcome to the historic Hockenheim Ring, nestled deep in the Rhine Valley of southwest Germany. While its legendary Grand Prix track has seen decades of motorsports glory, we are using its ultra-fast, ultra-punishing, short-circuit configuration. It cuts out the long straights, cranks up the heat, and leaves zero room for error as we put these machines through the ultimate hot lap test. Our first truck to do a lap around the Hockenheim is the Potent. Let's see if this thing has any potential. Watching a truck like this go around a racetrack is almost like watching a flat collapse horizontally. Again, you can hear the warning sound. That's just typical French engineering throwing up its hands, issuing an immediate unconditional surrender, and begging me to step on the brakes. But as we throw this thing into the corner, you can tell braking is not that necessary. But I must say it is doing a really good job keeping its speed up and taking those tight corners. Going around the long sweeping corner called Zax. Now coming down to the last corner. Really pushing that diesel engine to get every last bit out of it and across the line. And our next contender is the Segra Ultimat, the Swedish truck. Now let's see if that speed limiter is going to keep it from getting a nice time. I don't know about you, but this thing kind of looks like it wants to roll over and take a nap. Now, so far, it definitely does not look much faster than the Potent, but I do believe the handling looks a lot better. Almost in a way where I'm surprised this thing is not tipping over. On Zach's corner, the angle is about 3 to 4 degrees, but this truck is sort of countering it out. Now really throwing it into that corner, carrying as much speed as possible. There's only one corner left. Hopefully it's not reached its limiter just yet, and across the line. Now obviously we're in Germany, so this is the favorite to win, and in my opinion, I think it can. Mercedes is known for having some high-performance vehicles in their fleet, but will it reflect with this semi-truck? It does seem to be carrying a lot of speed through the corners, very smooth. But right here we are starting to see a bit of wheel spin, almost like it has too much power. Now cruising through the final corner, even more wheel spin, laying on the pedal, and across the line. Let's take a look at these times. Now before I look at these times, I'm going to make an assumption. If you had asked me before we started, I would have bet everything on the Mercedes. With that massive engine and that clinical German precision, it just had too much raw power on the straights for the others to match. Now let's see if I was right. Now the Potent, it lumbered across the line in 2 minutes, 7.62 seconds. A baseline at least. Next up, the Ultimat, it shaved nearly 4 seconds off the Potent, setting a 2 minute, 3.75 seconds. Even with the speed governor, it was still faster than the Potent. Als nächstes kommt der Mercedes. Next up is a Mercedes. Let's see this time. 1 minute, 58.87 seconds. That is almost 12 seconds faster than second place. crushing the competition, the only truck to get under 2 minutes around this track. All in a machine that weighs as much as a small island. Give it up for your winner, the Mercedes-Benz Actros MP3. So if you want your overnight deliveries arriving at absolute supersonic speeds, buy a Mercedes. Now, who here remembers our review of the Bruckle Ravix last episode? We put it through its paces on the track, we did the power lap, but we left you all staring blankly at a very specific alternate version. The version Bruckle calls the Paragun. Supposedly, the top speed is 269.96 miles per hour. Well, it's back. And we weren't satisfied with just letting it sit there looking menacing. We wanted to give it a proper, unrestricted, flat-out speed test. The trouble is, Road Atlanta is an incredible circuit, but it was simply too small to contain the absolute violence of even the Battlehawk. So we had to find somewhere much, much bigger. This is Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. For over a century, this hollowed piece of French countryside has been the ultimate crucible for motorsport endurance. It is beautiful, it is historic, and for most of the year it is just a collection of ordinary public roads. But we haven't come here for a 24-hour endurance race. We've come for one specific, terrifying stretch of tarmac. The Mulsanne Straight. 3.7 miles of absolute, unyielding, flat-out asphalt. In the late 1980s, Group C racing prototypes were hitting an astonishing 250 miles an hour down this exact straight before the governing body got frightened and ruined the fun by installing 2 chicanes to slow everyone down. That's not fun. But for our little experiment, the chicane barriers have been cleared out, and now there is more than enough room here to let this car truly stretch its legs. Now, for those of you that do not remember the Bruckle Ravix at all, I invite you to go watch episode 2 of Beam Gear, where we do a full in-depth review of the Battlehawk Ravix. But we did also tease the Paragun, which is the opposite version of a Goshawk. This car is made for nothing but top speed. 296 is what we're told it can do, but I want to find out for myself. Three, 2, 1, go. There it is, 270 miles per hour. A terrifying speed has just been achieved, and I don't think we'll ever go faster than that, not anytime soon. We spent this entire journey chasing perfection. We looked at the engineering, the design, the blood, the sweat, tears that go into building these automotive titans. We wanted to know what happens when humans refuse to compromise. And what we found is that the cars are just the catalyst. The real magic is the passion behind them. The drive to go faster, be better, and to push the boundaries of what we thought we could achieve. Now, we definitely went a little bit over time, longer than usual, but I think we did some pretty important things today. But on that bombshell, it is time to end the show. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Good night.